I think family history doesn't have to be just like sitting at the computer looking at people's names. Like, it can be alive, and it can be personal, and it can be something even just as simple as like writing in your journal, because that's what some of their ancestors did, and they were able to find a connection through one of their journal entries. So it can be talking to your grandparents about their childhood. It can be reading an old story about your great-great-grandpa or something like that. Like, it can be so much more than just, just sitting at the computer.
We had the opportunity this Christmas season to go visit some family sites at graveyards in the Gila Valley area, which is where my husband's family is from. And while we were there, we were able to take pictures of the grave headstones, headstones of the graves of my husband's ancestors, and it was really inspiring to see where they lived and the impact that they had on these small towns. My husband's family, there was many people who stayed there and had their families there, so in the graveyard, about half of the graveyard was his family, and it was inspiring to see just the good that they had done with their lives, and I felt honored to be a part of it. And it was also, I was surprised and pleasantly surprised at how interested we all were with going to the different grave sites, and that was our favorite part of the trip. We found a way to go to a third grave site we weren't even planning on going to, but it was fun to share it with the kids.
Yeah, I like when I went there with my mom and the rest of my family, it felt almost like they were there, and it was really nice about my dad telling us about all of the different people that he was related to, and it was just a really inspiring experience.
And my mother wanted to see if that work had been followed up, so she asked me to follow up on it, and I was able to work on it. And I found 35 or 40 of the people where the work stopped with my great-grandfather, where they did the baptisms and the confirmations, but none of the other work. And then I was able to follow that through and find families and find parents and spouses and daughters. But I think this is really cool, because here's my great-grandfather who did the work in 1896, and then I've been able to reserve the additional ordinances to be done for his cousins. And when the temples open up, I'll be able to go in and do that work. And that has just really brought me extremely close to both my mother and who started this work and my great-grandfather.
I like visiting my grandpa's farm because I got to see where he grew up, and it was really fun to see where he farmed and all the work he had to do. And he told us stories of where he used to play and stuff.
This bucket holds pictures from up to 100 years ago. And we've been going in and we've been snapping a picture and putting it in our Family Search app.
There's a lot of aspects I love about family history. I'm a journaler, so I do like to keep a journal the old-fashioned way, because I wish I had more history from my family, my grandparents, my great-grandparents and things. So I keep that journal, I keep a thought journal, and I keep a journal in a program called Evernote that is very easy to enter notes in. I do have a travel journal in here and write down some of the things I do, and more of a kind of a travel log, but just for myself, so I'll remember the events, especially when I go with family. And then also, I've used Facebook as a journal, and so this is the Facebook social book, which you can print out everything you posted during a year. So I'll do that on a regular basis. This is from 2007 to 2014, so that's kind of when I started in one book. But then I have books for each year here that comprise journals of, a lot of stuff that was on my mind. I try to keep my postings relevant and proper. So that's kind of what I've done. And then I've got all my old daytimers and old journals. And then down here, my wife is a wonderful record keeper, and so we've made these books for all of our kids. We haven't handed them off to them. And then of course we have our old-fashioned family history records that we used to keep when we did the 4 generations. My, how things have changed. One of the things that I thought was pretty cool is every Sunday when I come in here, I usually get on Family Search for a little bit and see what kind of thing they send me. They send something every week. And last year in November, I was studying the Mayflower. I was just thinking about our country and realizing that it didn't start in 1776, but it started in like 1620, and that's when the Mayflower landed. So I read about it, and I read about some of the people that were on it. I thought it was so cool. And then I get an email from Family Search that says, here's your Mayflower connection, about 2 weeks later. And I'm a direct descendant, 11th great grandfather of 2 people that came over on the Mayflower. Of course, so are 35 million other people, but it was pretty cool to think about that and to think how history is connected in that way. And then another thing that we do, that we love to do, is every year we get a family picture book. So we make these books on Shutterfly or whatever it is. So this is my wife's parents, and that's there. So this is Bear Family Yearbook 2015, Bear Family Memories 2018, and then my kids made this for my wife and I, Betty and Charlie. And so we got a lot of pictures, and then they all write a thought in there about what they thought about us. And so that's, look at all these books down here. That's mostly what these are, is an annual family picture book. That way we have something to look at when we're thinking. And they're fun to just look at and remember. They spark those memories that we like to have. That, you know, when I was a kid growing up, and there was a lot of other people, we didn't have cameras. We didn't take that many pictures. I mean, we might have 2 or 3 or 4 or 500 pictures somewhere, whereas on my phone right now I got 25,000 pictures. It's kind of crazy, but a lot of it has to do with work too. But there's tons of family and videos. It's just a great way to remember and to build that memory. And another thing I do is I make videos of me talking about the gospel. Doesn't really appeal to many other people, but I do it and explain and teach the gospel to myself and hopefully to my kids as they maybe someday will be interested in listening to those thoughts that I have. They're written down in a lot of ways, but then again, it's kind of cool to express them and express your testimony and things like that. And that's pretty much all I can think of.
So for our priest activity, we did a family history night where everybody was challenged to grab some sort of story that they had from ancestors and to come prepared to share it. Brother Bethay kind of led the charge sort of and called on us to do stuff. Overall, it was a great experience, I thought. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but everybody just, like, we had a couple laughs in just from stories that people shared and just seeing what crazy stuff our ancestors have done before us. And it was just a good experience.
Yeah, and for me, just going back and looking for the memories from my ancestors and seeing what they went through and like what cool stories they had was really meaningful to me, to see like what trials they went through, you know, like makes my life not seem that hard, and it just makes me get to know them better and it seems more personal.
Yeah, I just really like that we were able to see kind of where our family comes from, like the ancestors that we had, everything they went through, and then just how it can apply to us and just how great each one of us, you know, the lineage that we have.